And hello, welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Special episode. Alex and I, we didn't get a studio. This is not what this is. No. We are in our hotel in Noblesville, Indiana, Connor Daly's hometown. And it's the Monday after the Indianapolis 500. We went to the 109th Indianapolis 500 yesterday, Alex. And we have, as always, a lot to talk about.
Plenty to talk about. Our
adventure, the race, Alex Palou finally, achieving his destiny, what we all knew he was going to do one day, win the Indy 500. We have a lot to talk about, of course, also with Kyle Larson's double attempt and some rude things he just ended up saying and doing, and I don't know. But we had a great day at the Speedway yesterday. We'll talk about the Coca-Cola 600 for NASCAR as well. Plenty to talk about. We're going to go ahead and get started, Alex. And, I love how we come into the month of May and we're talking about who's going to win. And we didn't really talk too much about the guy who won four of the first five races.
Here's the thing. I said last week that I didn't feel that Alex Palou was actually going to win the race. I was wrong, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it feels right. Now that it's happened, it feels right. It feels like this was meant to happen. Because while everyone else's IndyCar is fighting, throwing things at each other, there's penalties being thrown around, Alex Palou is the only one minding his damn business. He's standing on business, and he goes on and wins another race, and it's the Indy 500.
In typical Alex Palou fashion, too, because you had to run a perfect 500 miles to win that race yesterday. Every year you have to run a perfect 500 miles, but it was a day filled with so many weird things. It's been a weird week and month at the Speedway anyways, but yesterday continued that theme. So many mistakes on pit road, on restarts, on the track, mechanical failures galore. Mm-hmm. It's very Alex Palou, and especially the fashion he won it to where, the end of the race was kind of boring, and we'll talk about boring. We'll talk about that later, of course. But while we're talking about Palou, and we were talking about this in the car earlier, at what point do we start really talking about this guy being perhaps the next GOAT of IndyCar? Because
he's not there yet,
right?
But at his current pace, he's only been in IndyCar for 5 years. His first year was in 2020,
right?
We are fast tracking towards Scott Dixon territory, and maybe that sounds a bit overreactionary, but look, he's going to win the championship this year. He's gonna have 4 championships, and he's going to have an Indy 500. Scott Dixon only has 1 Indy 500. Mm-hmm. If Palou wins another one, and he very well could, when you get to that point, 4 championships, and he's going to have potentially more Indy 500s, just thinking about hypothetically in the future, we are in a possible reality where Scott Dixon's not the GOAT, and it's actually Alex Palou. And it's really crazy to think about.
I think, winning the Indy 500 is such a big deal, and I feel like we are just talking about it so casually and not in a disrespectful way.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just how good Alex Palou is. We knew that he was going to do this, except we kind of didn't know because there's nothing guaranteed, especially at the Indy 500.
Yeah.
That was definitely part of the lore. Like, Pato Awards come close so many times. Alex Palou still hadn't had one before yesterday. That was definitely kind of part of the lore. But now that he has it, it's just like, of course he did it.
Yeah.
That was the last thing he really, Alex said it himself. Palou, not you. Palou said it himself. Like, he needed to do that to cement his career, and that's something I love about the IndyCar series. I mean, you hear about it in NASCAR sometimes, but NASCAR drivers will be like, I need the Daytona 500, but it's Daytona. I have a very successful career without winning the Daytona 500. That is not the case with the Indy 500 and the IndyCar series, and I think that is one of the coolest things about this series, this sport, and this race.
And Drew on Blue Sky, who we actually met at the Speedway yesterday, he asked us, does Alex Palou enter discussions of being the best in the world with his current dominant run? And clearly we think so. I think he's already been in that discussion, but now, long-term into his career, like we just talked about, I think he is in this discussion for IndyCar, at least the greatest of all time, long-term.
My PR agent said I can't talk about the best drivers in the world anymore.
Yeah, you're not allowed to talk about that no more.
I'm not allowed to talk about that anymore.
We'll talk about why.
Not after last night.
I want to add on to this. If Alex Palou wanted to go to Formula One, right, and that was like a big part of why he went to McLaren very briefly and then he left and all this stuff, it's because he wanted an opportunity to go to Formula One. And that didn't really happen, right? So he's now done everything he needs to or could do in IndyCar. He could, of course, keep expanding on his resume. But if he wanted to go to F1, I mean, there's nothing else for him to do here. And just keep growing and growing and pushing toward being the next Scott Dixon.
Like, surely there's more stats, and I think, I guess it depends on who you ask, and, how do you weigh an IndyCar career against a career in Formula One? Because my thought is, not only are there there's so many limited spots to get into F1, there's limited spots to be able to win in F1 because it's F1. It's,
And the thing I'm thinking of is Juan Pablo Montoya won the Indy 500 and everything, and then he went over to Formula One. And Palou could do the same kind of thing, take a little F1 trip. Maybe he'll go in the NASCAR, who knows, like Montoya did. I doubt that part. But then,
that'd be fun.
If he wanted to, and F1's more difficult to win because it's more about the cars.
Right.
He could end up coming back later on. It's something to think about. And I already knew that Alex Palou was the guy, but now he has it on his resume. Like, it is written in stone that he is, like, a legend.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's a big deal. Really big deal. The F1 topic is interesting. I mean, we know Cadillac's team is starting next year, I believe. There's new regulations. I don't know. It's just, part of me is like, please go to F1. Let's
please
get some different winners in IndyCar for a little bit. But at the same time, it's really cool to see this in the sport. And, Joseph was just going for 3 Indy 500s in a row. Palou and that team, they're starting to get the nickname the Perfect Tens. They are very much capable of winning more Indy 500s, right? I mean,
they're going to win more races this year. They've won all but one race this year on the regular schedule.
Does Palou live in America? I'm assuming so. Right. Like, IndyCar is his current home. F1, his F1 dream, is that still alive anyways? Like, has he even talked about that? Like, that's something that...
It hasn't really been talked about since the whole McLaren drama.
That's something to definitely talk about if that comes up, but we'll see.
I want to talk about how did Alex Palou end up winning this race. He had both David Malukas and Marcus Ericsson blend ahead of him on that last pit stop cycle. Pato Ward looked to be in the picture at the end, but he wasn't quite able to get up there. Palou got around David Malukas. We were in the crowd. We were telling each other that Palou was about to take Malukas to school.
Well, and can we just say, again, we said this already, but Palou was just in the top 5 all day, and at a point, he started leading on his strategy, because, the Carpenter cars were doing a weird strategy and stuff, but he, again, kept himself in position, and then, as you said, we get to the final, run, the final stops, and he was ready to take David Malukas to school.
Yep.
And I wish we could have seen what that would have kind of maybe looked like without lap cars, and of course Ericsson ended up jumping in front of him, which, where did Ericsson come from?
So Zack and I thought we had the strategy really figured out. We thought this is what's going to happen. We thought that we had opinions on the Carpenter cars. We're like, they're probably not on the winning strategy, but they had a good strategy. And we were like, okay, so Palou just is like, David Malukas is the Indy 500 race leader, is what we were thinking.
Yes.
And then Ericsson apparently pitted really, really late. Yes. Ericsson was not on our minds at the track.
And he must have topped off on one of those it might have been the Larson caution. He must have topped off, I guess, and was one of the first ones.
We watched the highlights this morning, and Fox did cover, Ericsson was pitting and Kevin Lee, was in the pits covering it. And so TV caught it, and then they caught the blend. I feel like that's just a thing about being at the track. You can't catch every little thing. Yes. But Ericsson was not, I feel, in the top 5, top 10 at all. So just was not. He was maybe low top 10, but just was not in the picture for me. Because it looked like he was going to win the Indy 500 a second time, and tough to pass. Palou managed to get a pass on him in turn 1. Ericsson left the bottom open, And that's what allowed Palou to get through with 14 to go. Yeah, crazy.
What a move that was. Because here's the thing, and this is actually kind of a good time to talk about like the end of the race and how I guess people will call it boring. I guess I can call it boring. I mean, it was anticlimactic. Is that a good word? It was a very anticlimactic finish to what was a really good race. Because I thought Connor Daly was going to win this at one point. Yeah. David Malukas, Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden. I'm like,
I didn't know who was going to win until 14 to go when Palou took the lead.
And even then, with those Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan cars, I'm just like, they're swapping, but some laps they weren't able to complete their swap, and I'm like, that's backing Palou up into Ericsson.
And on the last lap, Ericsson made up a lot of ground on Palou, and I'm like, oh, he might have a shot here. That didn't end up happening. Palou ended up getting further ahead again. But those two lap cars, the two Ray Hall, those Devlin DeFrancesco and Louis Foster, they were ahead of the leaders at the end there. It, like you said, prevented those runs. It was very similar to the 2021 Indy 500 finish when Palou and Elio Castroneves had some lap cars.
But they caught them like at the very last lap.
Right.
And that made it like dramatic. It was like, whoa, like Elio might get backed up here.
And that's right. And it was kind of similar to that, though. Similar kind of vibe.
So the problem with the current kind of package, if there is you want to call it a problem, if you are third on back, it's just really, really, really difficult to pass. And I'm not saying iRacing's like perfectly simulating it, but like it's like that on iRacing, because if you're second in line, the first guy doesn't get a draft. You just slipstream by him. The third guy passing the second guy, you can't, because the second guy is also getting that slipstream down the straightaway. Yeah. There's just, you don't have a single advantage on him. So what was kind of happening for a little bit there is we saw Louis Foster and Di Francesco. They're swapping, and it's just like all you have to do if you're in third in line, just follow. You got it. Which that makes it really, really, really impressive that Palou was able
to make
that pass on Ericsson.
Yep.
Because, and that's what frustrates me a little bit to people criticizing the end of that, the ending of that race.
Well, and some people were even saying that they should have gotten out of the way. They were on the lead lap. There's not like
if a caution comes out, like with 9 to go, they get back.
It's not like F1 where they have to get out of the way or they get a penalty. They can fight for that position. If a yellow came out, they'd be on the lead lap and have a shot at winning this thing potentially or getting a better finish.
And they were helping leaders save fuel all race, by the way, because they were on that strategy for like the last half of the race. Like they were helping leaders save fuel.
I was telling you during the race, like they are two Hondas. That's going to make it really difficult for Malukas and Award, who are Chevrolets, to get around the two Hondas who are 1 and 2.
They're farther back.
So they were never going to get out of the way, because no matter what they did, a Honda was going to win the Indy 500 with their presence there.
Yeah, and I guess kind of looping back also to Ericsson getting passed by Palou. Mm-hmm. He kind of let that one, he just let it happen.
Yeah, he didn't go on the bottom at all.
You obviously want to wash up back to the wall for the turn, but Palou was there, and he took it. It's almost like, it's so weird to me because I can't believe it happened. Like, it's, like, sure, you don't expect the guy to, when you're in dirty air, you do have to let off going to the corner. They're not holding it flat. So, it's almost like Ericsson let off too early. I mean, I'm not driving the car. It's almost like he let off too early and Palou saw the hole open and he took it. Or maybe Palou, as he was getting the run, he's like, this is the move I'm going to make. Because Palou followed him to the wall a little bit at first and then pulled out to the inside to surprise him. But again, no, that's just, while it's very hard to pass that far back, it's obviously not impossible. And we saw Newgarden make moves all race, but
we'll talk about that.
It's something they could definitely fix with the package. But I don't, this isn't a NASCAR race. I don't feel
we'll
like
talk about the
packages.
race as a whole in a second.
Yeah.
But Jack on Twitter pointed out that lap traffic is a part of racing, and unless they're purposely disrupting through team orders or beef with the leaders, then they should be allowed to have the track, and the leaders should have to deal with them.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
In a perfect world, Palou should be able to actually pass them anyways. Yeah. And that would have actually been really interesting.
That's not the scenario that we have. That's been a problem at Indianapolis for a while.
Since like 2018 when they went from like those monstrous aero kits, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just how it is.
There's been a lot of discussion if this was even a good Indy 500. We were at the race, if you haven't caught on to that. I think we said at the start.
Yeah.
But we've been spoiled. Last 3 Indy 500s before this one were all last lap passes, essentially.
Generational run for, it's been a generational run with this race.
And then in the middle of that, you also had 2 in a row for Newgarden, historic, only 6th in history to do that. And then right before those 3, you had Helio Castroneves get a historic 4th.
Yeah.
And then before that, of course, was the COVID 2020 race.
But then,
weird.
I think Pagano in 2019 was cool. Just the way he won that race, the strategy he pulled off, and the battle with Rossi, that was great.
Outside of 2020, we have been in a historic run of Indianapolis 500s.
Yeah.
And people's expectations are rightfully so through the roof. It's the Indy 500.
Yeah. It's bigger than ever.
But not every year is going to be a barn burner, right? Like, it's not going to be, I'm trying to think of the word, just like spectacular.
You can't have dessert every night, for every meal.
Right.
I mean,
it was a standard Indy 500.
It was really good, though,
Zack,
still.
I think that's what we expected. Because the unknown of the hybrid, we were wondering, was this going to be a more tame race? But I think the hybrid, I don't know how much it impacted things. Maybe it made it a little harder to pass. I don't know. But it was still a good race. I enjoyed myself. I think people's expectations were just a little too high based on what
I think it's just
the
ending. I think it's just the ending.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, it's just it felt like a bunch of little problems.
Yeah.
Compounding.
Yeah.
But what are we going to do about it? I don't want to sit here and be like, this is what needs to change. Because I don't know. It just, and again, Palou still made a pass for the win. I think I would actually really understand the frustration if Palou just got stuck behind Ericsson.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we wouldn't have gotten to see Palou and Ericsson battle it out, and we kind of still didn't get to see it. But Palou made a pass on Ericsson for the win. I don't think we're talking. It's not just about the pit stops. Right? It's definitely very centered around it, but it's not just all about the pit stops.
If Connor Daly didn't fall off when he was leading this race, if this was a battle between Connor Daly and Alex Palou, I think we would have actually had more passing. Potentially. Because I don't know if Marcus Ericsson had a race-winning speed
Right, because he didn't have track position
most of the race. He was never up there. I don't know, but Connor Daly was ahead of Alex Palou. I think that potentially could have been a more contentious kind of battle.
That's true. But
something to think about.
I don't know. Ericsson knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
To be fair. But Andretti, it's only his second 500 with Andretti, but he wrecked last year.
We had some comments on if this was a good race or not. Olivia on Twitter, who we also met yesterday.
Really nice.
She said, I felt like the energy levels of this year's 500 was off. I don't know what it was. I think it's just in general, maybe not the race itself.
I mean, I felt that with Larson's double, which we'll talk about later, but for the race itself, there's a lot of new with Fox.
I
think. And obviously that doesn't play a part into the race, being at the track itself, but I don't know. I guess that it's almost like a new era of IndyCar in a way because of Fox.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of negativity with the sport. Honestly, maybe it was the penalty drama from qualifying weekend too. I think there was a lot of negativity, and it's hard to get over that going into the race. I mean, that could have been why. So I understand, but most of it for me was Larson centered.
Right.
I guess.
For the energy levels being off.
Yeah, it doesn't feel I was more excited. Also, last year was my first 500. This year it was my second 500. Right. It's okay, I've played these games before. I know what's going on.
Yeah. And then Dirt from our Patreon said, I've seen Pato Award getting a fair amount of heat for his post-race comments surrounding the poor quality of racing. That said, I personally found the race lacking in substance from the difficulties that came with passing, whether that's hybrid related or not. Obviously, we were there, Zach. Dirt wants to know, or is curious what we saw from the stands.
Well, I'd never want to tell a driver to not complain because we see, NASCAR and the drivers complain and then the sanctioning body doesn't listen. And the IR-18, the current body that's on the DW12 chassis, it's not perfect. it's still really. I mean, look, we're talking about all these bangers that we've had the last few years. I mean, we're having really good racing, and the racing being about the strat. I mean, I told this to someone at the tweet up yesterday. Even if the racing sucks, the strategy is still really fun to follow, right?
There's tons of strategy.
Right. I mean, maybe it's because it's hard to pass. I mean, we see that at NASCAR a lot these days. By the way,
Zack was having so much fun with the strategy.
I wish I had
a notebook. Yeah. He was like doing the math. He's good at math. You were like telling me they need to pit in this kind of window, and then you were like, they should pit right now, and then all of a sudden some cars came.
And then the car started pitting. I'm like, you were right. Whole strategy. Well, iRacing, running the iRacing Indy 500 also kind of helped me. And again, I don't know how realistic the fuel windows are in it, but I assume they're pretty close. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
So when it's like this guy has to make 34 laps, I'm like, girl, you have to back it down. Like it's just how it is. The quality of the racing, I think it could be better. I mean, we also need a new car, so it's not like they should definitely not. If you're going to spend development on the car, like, you know, don't do it just to fix this car at the Indy 500. Like, do it for your next generation of car.
Yeah.
So is it worth talking about? I don't know, but I understand the frustrations because Palou is up there, and the Indy 500 win is a few spots in front of him, and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I don't think the hybrid's related to that because it's always kind of been like that.
Yeah.
But again, we saw people. Joseph passing back markers is one thing though. Like.
Yeah.
But we saw. And this kind of goes into the restarts being crazy, because we saw like 4 wide on the restarts, and Sage Karam.
Those restarts are too dangerous. They are testing fate.
It's like...
And that... Yeah. You were going to say, Sage Karam posted, like, they can only pass on the restarts. And it's just like NASCAR. That is the only time they can pass.
IndyCar does not need to...
No. They do not need NASCAR-like restarts. But I get it, because that's the time they can pass, but it's not good.
IndyCar I don't know what the word is. Not cosplaying, but anytime IndyCar starts to resemble NASCAR... is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Pack racing. No. We cannot do that. Like, not that that's pack racing, of course, but it's like when you're going 4 wide on the front stretch into turn 1, I don't think it's cool. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. And I was in the stands and I was like, Alex, oh my God, girls, y'all can't do this. Like, I was freaking out. But
I confirm that is true.
Yes. But we're asking for something bad to happen, I feel like. Yeah. I don't know. And also the restart rules are just like ridiculous. Stop pushing me.
Scooch over. You're pushing me out.
I'm trying to talk to the fans. The restart rules, and we talked about this at Gateway, after Gateway last year, because Joseph was being a little terrorist up there. But like... I don't know. It's just like DeFrancesco. You mentioned this. The one restart where DeFrancesco had control of the field because he stayed out or something. Mm-hmm. And he, you can go like before turn 3.
Yeah.
And he's bringing it down still at pace speed.
Slow.
He was still at pace speed turn 4. And then apparently they waved the green. But the leader has control of the restart, right? So it's like, well, hold on a minute. He didn't go yet. What are we doing? And then they all jumbled up, and then I think it was
Rasmussen.
Yeah, then Rasmussen got he like hit the wall off turn 3, and then we're 4 wide down the front stretch. Like, it's just like we're just asking for something bad to happen. And that's kind of related to the racing product and the difficulty of passing third on back.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that it can't stay like this forever, but I don't think it's too bad. It's miles better than the Daytona 500.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Because...
Oh, my God.
At least there's strategy. And that's why, like, again, with NASCAR sometimes, I'm like, listen, if it's going to be really hard to pass and if the racing's going to suck, then you need to get rid of stage breaks and let the crew chiefs cook and make this interesting.
Yeah. Well, we talked about how Alex Palou needed a perfect 500 miles, and that's what he had. He was one of the only ones, though, that had a perfect 500 miles. I think he might have been
one of the only ones, honestly.
And that's how you win the Indy 500. Takuma Sato had this race in control. And you and I were texting during one of the cautions. Sato is probably going to have to end up facing an incoming Joseph Newgarden, and they're both going to be fighting for win number 3. Yeah. That was the vibe we were feeling. Because Joseph was flying, and Sato had this thing in hand.
Yeah.
But then I think literally moments later, Sato had the pit stop where he slid too far.
It was that caution where VK like crashed on pit road. It was that caution, and there are a lot going on in that pit cycle because that was also when Schwartzman hit his crew members.
But man, Takuma Sato, man, I feel bad for him. He finishes 11th in this race.
He had such control of that race.
That was one of the best races I've seen from him, I feel like. Because I don't recall him like having a control of a race like this before.
That's the thing, and his experience and how fast his car was, qualified second, of course.
Yeah.
Him controlling that race, I'm just like, there's no way anyone's going to take this from him unless it's like, Joseph gets up there, or if Palou would have snuck up there, of course.
Yeah.
Unless Taku takes himself out of it, which he did. And that breaks my heart, but that's what the Indy 500 is about. You have to put together a perfect 500 miles.
And again, with how hard it is to pass, he just couldn't make up that much ground.
No, he stayed back there. And also, considering he qualified second, they probably didn't really set that car up for traffic that much. Like, okay, we're starting in the front. We're probably going to stay in the front if everything goes right, which makes sense. You'll save more fuel that way. You'll be faster in cleaner air, like harder to pass you. So.
And we mentioned Connor Daly. He looked like he had the fastest car at a point. I don't know what happened to him. I tried finding something, and we watched the highlights.
Fox was saying that he was running out of, not running out of fuel, but he was just, I don't know. I'm still
He was
confused.
yelling on the radio that he wanted to pit, but then he wouldn't make it on fuel to the end.
Vibration. He also...
That's right. Vibration. He had a vibration. We did read that during the race.
Which, I don't know what that could have possibly been.
Because it was late in a run. It wouldn't have been like a loose wheel.
I don't think it would have been a tire. There wasn't that much tire wear yesterday.
And I was telling you, I wonder if he's feeling things because he's in position.
You're crazy. Alex thinks he's, imagining a vibration here.
I'm not. No. That is a thing. Drivers have said that. That is the thing they say on TV. That they, can start imagining things. They start overthinking the situation. Why are you making fun of me then?
I'm not. I like making fun of you. It's really
That's
fun
true, you do.
and easy. Not easy. No, it's not easy.
He's not this mean, I promise. It's an act.
I think I am. I don't know. I've been hanging out with you all weekend. I'm like, damn, I'm really mean to Alex. I should probably stop. I should. I won't. But Connor Daly, that was really weird and heartbreaking. And it's one of those things where it's like being at the track. I'm just like, what's going on? Because it's, you can only hear Alan Bestwick in them when the cars aren't going by. But either way, that just really sucks because he was running that race so well. We've seen him lead the Indy 500 before when he was doing it for Carpenter, but it was they were letting him lead so everyone else could save fuel. It was one of those kinds of things.
And the thing is, too, I was telling you, if Connor Daly won, it'd be a deserving win, I think, because he has led a lot of laps in IMS, and he's gone through losses there before. I feel like he...
Well, in his career, too, finding a stable ride, he has not had a stable ride.
I know people don't see him as, a top-tier driver, but at Indianapolis, he is, pretty darn good there.
And that's what's so cool about him.
And whenever he was in the lead, the crowd erupted, and we watched the highlights. Fox did not use crowd noise, which was disappointing. The crowd was roaring every time he took the lead.
Yeah.
It was really, really staggering.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's led a lap or two since the previous 2 times I've been to the Indy 500. So I never really got to experience that, but the crowd roars.
Right.
It's kind of crazy because he is from the Indianapolis metro area.
Yeah.
Really cool, but yeah, bummer for him.
I would have loved to just hear driver intros. Everyone's cheering and screaming. Even we were, because it's oh, this guy's from Indiana. From nearby. This would be such a cool story for him to win this race, and that's why he's so good at it. I mean, he has so much passion for it. You can tell, and I hope it happens one day. And I thought yesterday was going to be the day, and that would have been so cool to see.
Yeah,
sad it didn't happen.
Another person who looked like he could have won the Indy 500 was Ryan Hunter-Reay. He was leading when he stalled on the last pit stop. Man, I don't think we knew exactly which strategy Hunter-Reay was on at the track.
Yeah, because I thought at one point I thought he was a lap down, but then I'm like, oh no, he's leading.
But Hunter-Reay was leading for quite a while. We were like, he's got to pit at some point.
Yeah.
But Ryan Hunter-Reay, he could have won this thing too. He was leading quite a lot, and he pitted at the right time when everyone else was pitting nose around him. Stalls it. And
yep.
he had to come back down pit road several more times. It just, I don't know what happened there, but that's really disappointing for him. That's another one. I I forget he's out there for the 500 sometimes.
Yeah, he's just kind of one of those guys, but
he could have been another two-timer over 10 years ago. His last win.
I forgot. I saw a social post where Hunter Ray said that's just another one that got away, which is kind of.
Someone else who had another Indy 500 go away is Alexander Rossi, the 2016 winner. He was also leading when he had an issue in the pits. Yeah. His car caught on fire.
And that was so weird. And we saw some weird fires happen Friday during car bay practice. Yeah. And I don't exactly know if it was related to the hybrid issue. I forgot to look that up. But either way, it's just like one of those things where it's just like I kept saying this to people all day yesterday, like at the tweet up, and this will connect to when we talk about Joseph in a little bit. It's just like I could never be doing real racing because you can prepare for this race, for weeks and months and do all this practice and be really good in practice and qualify well, and you start executing the race when it starts, and you're doing everything exactly what you should be doing, and you're executing, and then your car fails.
Yeah.
See you next year.
Yep. Sorry.
Couldn't be me. At least when I racing, I just log off and go do something else. Yeah. Oh my God. I understand his frustration because Rossi, and I rewatched the 2019 Indy 500 like earlier last week. He won the Indy 500, his first one, right? And ever since then, he's come so close, I feel like. And, he's not the only driver that's come close. So many opportunities, and he just can't find a way to get back to victory lane.
I'm glad he's won one, because if he hadn't won one, he'd be one of those guys where we're like, is he ever going to win it?
Right.
Imagine if he didn't win, and then he came so close in 19.
He's like Scott. He's kind of like Scott Dixon. Yeah. Like if Scott Dixon never got that 08 win, it's like, oh girl.
And Scott Dixon's the guy I want to talk about next because he had a brake fire on the pace laps. His car was on fire.
Weird things were happening at the speedway this week. Like a brake fire.
Going back to what Olivia said earlier, like it was just off. Like,
well,
cursed.
Okay.
This race was cursed.
To be fair, I assume it was really cold yesterday.
Yeah.
So one of the ways to warm up tires is to drag the brakes because the brake heat transfers to the tires.
Right.
So I guess Dixon's brakes were just like.
I'm gonna catch on fire now.
Yeah, I'm gonna just catch on fire now. Like, I guess they got too hot. I guess the brakes got too hot. Which makes sense, actually, because if you're dragging the brakes, I mean, they're going to get really, really, really hot to the point where they might start, I don't know, melting or something, and whatever.
Then eventually Dixon also had, like, a jack issue, apparently. He stayed 3 laps down pretty much the whole race. He was out before it even started, which, that sucks. And I was telling you, I don't think it was a hybrid issue. It was a brake fire then.
Yeah.
But I told you pre-race, I'm like, if anyone's going to have a hybrid issue day, it's going to be Scott Dixon.
Right.
Because he's had so many issues with the hybrid. And then here at the Indy 500, rough day for Scott Dixon. Pace laps, you were just saying you got to warm up your tires. Scott McLaughlin, warming up his tires, crashes, and this was devastating. Like, we had a little delay before the race even started, and McLaughlin just crashes, and the camera pans to a wrecked yellow submarine. And the crowd went nuts.
I went nuts.
Like, it was like, whoa!
Well, because I'm like, okay, race is about to start. I'm so, I'm chilling. I'm making sure I got everything ready. Then I look, I'm like, oh my God, there's a wreck. Like, that was the most insane moment for me yesterday. I was screaming.
And the camera stayed on Scott. He got out of a car, and, you saw it on TV too, you guys. He bent down, was just like in disbelief. Like he was.
I've never seen a driver that upset.
Heartbroken.
Like, remember, like Isaac Hadger, he wrecked literally same thing at the Australian Grand Prix. But this is almost worse because it's Scott McLaughlin, who has become. I mean, he drives for Team Penske. Mm-hmm. He's had very fast cars at the Indy 500. He's basically a veteran now. He knows what he's doing. It's almost worse, and it's some people call it embarrassing. It is embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
It's heart-wrenching to just watch the pain. You could see the pain on him. That sucked.
It sucks.
It sucked, and what do I even say?
Well, one of our Patreon members, MJ, said, I don't know whether to feel worse for McLaughlin or Nolan Siegel. They both crashed at the most heartbreaking times of the race, right before and right at the end.
Siegel? I mean, I guess. Well, he was running
He was running toward the back.
90th, so I don't know.
But McLaughlin, though, it is really heartbreaking. And someone else who was running kind of toward the back and mid-pack, Will Power. He started last.
Oh, he was in the race yesterday? Oh, I thought they DQ'd him for the week. That's why I couldn't see him.
So Will Power and Joseph Newgarden started in the last row. This broke after our episode last week.
Right.
Because of the attenuator stuff. Started 32nd and 33rd. Joseph was moving. We're about to talk about him in a second. But Power was with Joseph. And until about around 20th, Power just kind of stayed there.
He was like, you go ahead, Joseph. I'll hold the fort down back here.
And we're going to go back to our Patreon member, MJ, because MJ says he loves seeing David Malukas do so well after his 2024. Hopefully he's in better position next time his contract is up. Why do I bring up David Malukas here?
I don't know. Why do you bring up David Malukas?
Malukas' contract, I don't know what that looks like, but Will Power's contract ends at the end of this season. And... started in the back, that's not his fault. But a subpar performance in the Indianapolis 500.
And this is not the first time
Not the first time.
He wrecked out last year. Wasn't even that fast. He
wasn't even running
in the
that
race.
good last year.
He was starting to drop.
He was in the championship contention, but Roger Penske really puts a lot of weight on the Indy 500.
Yeah.
We are in a contract year for Will Power. And the most likely name that I've heard time and time again is David Malukas to get the 12 car or at least be interested by Team Penske. David Malukas could have won the Indy 500 in a Foyt car.
You're going to hate what I'm about to say. David Malukas reminds me of Joseph Newgarden. And I wasn't watching IndyCar as closely when Joseph was, starting out, of course. But, David Malukas is so good on these ovals and certain types of tracks, and he's good at he's good at Indianapolis.
Yeah. Well,
Roger's going to eat that up.
I'm going to push back on that a bit because Joseph Newgarden was winning in Ed Carpenter equipment. He was winning.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he won in Sarah Fisher equipment before it went to Carpenter, but he was winning in the 67 car and then the 21 car. The car of Rinus VeeKay just left a year ago and is now Christian Rasmussen. Joseph was winning races in that car, which is like a mid-pack car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say,
Well, we've seen David Malukas still take it to Penske at Gateway.
Has he won, though? He hasn't won.
Let me finish the sentence. He took it to Penske in a coin car. I mean, he outraced Scott McLaughlin, which, that was at a time Scott McLaughlin never won either. So I get your point. I think we're both right. We can both be right.
No, I agree. I just need that to be
Did he win, though?
He hasn't won.
This is why. No, this is why I'm mean to you.
I'm just saying, we're in May. Will Power doesn't have a contract for 2026. He wants a contract.
It's so weird because again, though, he almost won the championship last year. It's like I forgot about that. It's so weird, the dynamics of the IndyCar series and the Indy 500, and I understand the perspective of Penske and how you better perform at the Speedway. Yep. I mean, they own the Speedway. I would want my drivers to be good there.
Yeah.
So.
And staying on Penske, let's talk about Joseph Newgarden now. His attempt at history falls due to a fuel pressure issue. Despite that was so much fun watching him drive from 32nd to P5 on strategy.
This was probably the best way for him to lose. Honestly.
I wasn't even mad.
You really were so chill. You were like, all right. Let's have fun now.
Hold on. So, I was locked in on him. Whenever they drove by, I was watching him. There he goes.
You were stressed. I know when you get
You looked
stressed.
over at me at a point, and I'm just, not even moving. I don't know if I was breathing.
I think I was trying to tell you about my strategy, things, they're going to pit this lap, and you're just like, okay. And Joseph goes by, you're like, meow.
Yep. And like I said earlier, I thought this was going to come down to him and Takuma Sato. I really fully thought that's what we were coming down to. Joseph then has his fuel pressure issue. Once he's out of the race, I'm chilling. I'm like, okay, Zach, do you want a snack? My backpack's full of snacks. I'm eating out of my Chex Mix bag.
Oh my God, you kicked back. If you were in a recliner, you would have kicked back.
Kicked back my recliner.
Oh my God.
And then I'm asking you, so what's the strategy? Like, I was so chill, you guys. Once he was out of that race, I was like, oh, now I can enjoy this. I was shaking for another hour. Because the last 2 years, I've been shaking from, like, lap 50 to the end, you know? Like, I'm just...
Really?
Yeah. And he was he was in a great position to actually win this thing. Like, I really think he had a shot. It was hard to pass.
I think he had the best car.
Yes, because as we said, it's hard to pass. He was passing people.
Yeah.
Started 32nd, got up to 5th on strategy.
We saw that on Friday.
Like, low top 10 overall.
He definitely had the best car, and he could have...
Yeah.
He was gone. I mean, we've seen him make passes in his career. Think about that one Texas race. Think about last year. He's made so many passes that aren't supposed to be able to work.
Yep.
He would have found his way up there.
But on one hand, I'm glad he was out because I really got to enjoy the end of this race. Like, you gave me the strategy rundown. I started cheering for Pato when Pato came in the pictures. I'm like, you know what? That sucked last year.
We owe him one.
Yeah,
us Joseph fans owe him one.
Yeah, it didn't happen, but
gosh.
I'm proud of Joseph Newgarden because that was a hell of an effort.
I mean, they put in an effort, and that's just racing.
He was going for the impossible. 2 things never done before, starting that far back, and 3 in a row.
Yeah,
and he had a really good shot at it, but you know, things happen. You're gonna have heartbreak at Indianapolis.
That's the mystic of the 500. That's just it happens. Nothing you can really do about it. And again, it's the best way. If he would have gotten involved in a wreck because he was in the back, oh my God, that would have sucked.
Yep.
Because it's well, if he didn't get that penalty, or if he just that would have sucked. But it's a fuel pressure issue. What are you gonna do about that? You know, it's just, it is what it is.
And now let's talk about just being at the track yesterday.
My second time, your third straight time.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got there just before 5 a.m. We parked in some guy's yard. We parked there, and then he came out his door. We gave him some cash. Going to a race is already a lot, especially you, Zack. You don't like going to races sometimes.
I don't like, and I hate putting it like that because it sounds stupid.
It's a lot. It's a lot of mental strain.
I love racing, and I love race cars.
It's a whole day of dedication.
And I love being at a racetrack while a race is going on.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. And this is just for going to NASCAR at Richmond, it's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Bathrooms, food.
You got to plan your whole day out.
You got to sit in this seat for the next 3 hours, right? No back support, no cushion. First world problems. I get it. But I enjoy watching races sometimes just from home, and TV shows me what I gotta see, and I got my recliner. I can go use the bathroom when I want. That's my perspective on it, and that doesn't even get into I just like staying home. I just saves money, and I don't. It's just I don't know. I get to recharge on my weekends, but going to the Indy 500, I have learned, is just entirely another thing. I mean, Alex, we had our alarm set for 3 a.m.
I woke up at 2:30 a.m.
The race was supposed to start, before 1 p.m. We're waking up 10 hours before green flag to drive.
To have a full, proper day.
To drive 40 minutes to, make it to the cannons, right? We were the first in line at our gate.
Yep.
But I sit here and ask myself, well, why are we showing up at 6 a.m.? We don't have to. Mm-hmm. I don't even know really why we do it, but I think it's because it's just there's this energy and this aura and the tradition, and you're probably about to get into it, but we basically for the first 20 minutes after we got into the gate, we basically repeated what we did when we got into the gate last year.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Which, by the way, can we talk about Slay of the Week right now?
Yes.
We're waiting at the gates, and someone, it's 5:57, 5:58.
Gates are about to open literally.
They started playing the epic music where it's something cool's about to happen, right? And then somebody with a normal looking ticket with, the normal looking
just
ticket.
like our ticket, walks up to the gate and asks this woman, hey, I have a work staff ticket. I am supposed to get in early. And the question I asked you is, if you're working, why aren't you here already? Because all the workers are already here. They've been here way before we were.
Now, they're barely working, but they're there.
Well, they're getting told what they're going to be doing and everything.
That's true.
So she goes and asks this lady who we knew was in charge, and I told you, like, thank God she went to her. Because this lady meant business. She stood on business. And she was like, what? We, like, saw her over there. She's like, what? And she walks over. And she let this lady have it. She's like, "What? This gate is not open."
Like, she was trying to I think she started to explain. The lady started to explain, and then the person with the worker's ticket, whatever that is, I've never heard of that before, started to argue with her, and then she was like, she started raising her voice and was like, "No, this is not the gate. The gate for that's over there. Whatever." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am."
Because she's so busy right now.
The thing is, like, we watched this woman, the one running this whole thing. She was telling these people, "Why do I not have people standing at the gate?
I need bodies over here."
And she's pointing to art because we had no one by ours for like a long time. Someone needs to go there. Someone needs to go there. Like, this woman, like, she.
I felt bad for her.
She was running the Indy 500. Like, Roger Penske needed to have her.
God.
Do something like.
She was probably just in charge of, like, just her little gate right here.
Yeah, that's
like,
all she was doing.
Oh my gosh.
She slayed the week to her.
And she was not putting up with it. You gotta respect it.
I hope she had the best sleep. Because I know all of them. I'm sure there was some crazy people coming in, because you can't bring glass into IMS. You can bring, like, anything else but, like, weapons and everything like that, obviously, and glass. That's like all.
Right. Pretty open.
I'm sure people were arguing with the people about bringing glass in. I'm sure someone let someone bring glass in and she yelled at them. Like, slay of the week to her. Because she stood on business. She told this woman to go to a different gate. Yeah. She's like, "Nope, not my gate."
I just love how she raised her voice. She was like, "I don't have time for this. You better go."
Yeah.
Like,
because gates open in like 2 to 3 minutes.
And I still don't got people here. Like, so, yeah. Then we went through those metal detectors that we kind of talked about last year, I guess. Yeah. Like, or whatever. So, like, the bag checking process is really, like, they don't really check the bags unless the detectors, like, see something weird. Yeah. But then, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, like, we kind of repeated our routine. We started walking towards, I guess, like, the middle of the road.
We went to the road course. You touched the curb.
Well, also, like, you bought your little Indy 500 pin. I bought my, my little collectible die cast, the green. I love this green.
Same spot we did a year ago.
Yeah.
The birds were chirping. It was such a nice morning.
It's such a vibe. Cold. I love watching the racetrack come to life. And the announcers come on. Everyone's starting to walk everywhere. It's just such a cool little vibe watching the racetrack come to life. I really it's one of those little things that I understand why people come to this race for, like, generations. For, like, there's people that have been here for, like, 50 straight years. Like, I really get it. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it makes me just really appreciate the Indy 500 because, like, what we've already have, like, little traditions on our second, third year.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy that people have been doing this they had one guy on screen who was like 80 years or something. It's like, oh my God, that is crazy.
It is. And it's part of the lore, and it's why this race is, and that's not even related to the actual racing. It's just the event is just so. Yeah. There's a reason people call it the biggest event in racing. It's really the biggest. It's literally the biggest sporting event in the world. Yeah. Like, in terms of just the people.
But Zach, we were talking last night at dinner. Like, we're thinking about taking a break from the Indy 500, like, going in person.
Yeah.
And it's not the track, and it's not
you,
race.
it's me.
Yeah. Because it's a lot. As we touched on earlier, it's a lot. And we want to go back another time. And I think it'll be really special. Like, let's say 2-3 years from now, we go again, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the gate where that lady did that. Oh my gosh, we're at the shop where we bought our pin. Oh my gosh, we're on the road course again. I feel like going 3 years in a row, for me at least, it was still really special, obviously. It's the Indy 500. But it's not like the magic left, but at the same time, it's like, I think I need
a break.
A step back, and come back, and I'm going to love it again. Yeah.
Financially, it's a lot.
Financially, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, we have 4 nights at this hotel, because we had 2 kind of rest days, I guess.
Yeah.
And financially it's a lot. Physically it's a lot. I mean, I felt awful in the car, sitting in traffic. We'll go to that later. Leaving that track, I felt awful. I felt like my head hurt. I felt tired.
You were very
hungry.
Grumpy. I was trying to make him feel better.
I was ready to fight him. I was like, not really. But I was like, it was awful. It was an awful feeling. Like, yeah, I had a really good, like, especially last year after Joseph won. I'm like, that was so cool. Why am I'm sitting in this car for 3 hours? I need to pee. Like, oh my, it's just like, it's a lot, right? Getting up at 3 a.m. and, you know, walking's fine. It's just the people. Oh my God, the people.
And meeting
the people's great.
We met so many cool people.
That's not the problem.
No, but it's the
sea of people. It's a sea of people, which part of it's cool. I mean, it's like so cool that this many people pack into a speedway for a race and a concert.
When we walked under the track from Pagoda Plaza over into the grandstand side, it was just like we had people looking down at us in the grandstands, and then behind us, grandstands looking at the other side of the track. You're surrounded by people. Yeah. And although it's like awesome, it's just like we were talking about it. Like it's overwhelming.
It's a lot, and
you gotta go one day.
You've gotta go, and I'm so privileged that I have been able to go these last 2 years. I'm privileged I got to see Joseph Newgarden win, my favorite IndyCar driver.
Win the back-to-back.
I'm privileged that I got to see Kyle Larson attempt the Indy 500 twice.
Yeah.
I think that is so cool. To see your favorite NASCAR driver at the Indy 500 is so cool. Not who else can say they've seen that, right?
Right.
That is so cool for me, and I definitely want to go back one day. And there's a lot of other reasons, not related to Indy, like.
I want to experience other big races too.
Well,
we were talking about maybe doing the Brickyard 400, doing IMS a different way.
Don't laugh at us. I feel like people are gonna be like, the Brickyard 400, really? You're not gonna go to Indy, but you're gonna go to the Brickyard.
Different big events in different motorsports. I had one person mention Long Beach last time when I posted something about this. I was like, Long Beach, that'd be cool.
That'd be a fun vacation.
Because, like, financially, I can probably only do one big race every year, right?
That's the thing, yeah.
The Rolex 24, we've been talking about that for years.
Yes.
We want to do the Rolex 24. This is going to sound silly, but we talk about going to Richmond because he lives near Richmond.
That's not a big race.
That's not a big race.
But you have to fly out there.
I have to fly out there. That'd be a big event. For me, like a big trip for me, hang out with you and everything. There's just other things like that. Like, it's just a lot, and it's like I want to try other things too.
And that's also me again. I say I don't, going to races is a lot for me. Any race, NASCAR at Richmond can be a lot for me, right?
Yeah.
But the Indy 500 kind of makes me appreciate those more because it's just easier to go to. I wouldn't say it's definitely not easy, but it's easier to go to like other races like IndyCar at Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm inspired to go to IMSA at VIR in August, right? See some GT3 cars and all their GT4 cars, Mazdas, MX-5s, like see all that and have fun and, see some really cool race cars, see some good racing.
Yeah.
But it's a 3-hour drive away from my house, and that's going to be on a weekend where I work 5 days a week, and it's just like, oh my God, there goes my weekend.
Can I just say really quick?
Yes.
Slay of the week to Zack, because you made your first big road trip on your own. You drove 10 hours. This man took a nap on our 3-hour drive to Iowa a few years ago. Yeah. And then you drove with me back home to my hometown, Kansas City. That was a 7-hour drive, and you were like, this is so long. When are we going to get there? Blah, 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 blah. You did a 10-hour drive. Yeah. I'm proud of you. That was awesome.
And it wasn't easy, but it wasn't. I had fun. Honestly, I love road trips, or I love driving long distance more than flying because...
You kept saying that you're glad you're not in an
airport. I also just bought like a Mustang, and I'm driving a Mustang now, which is very fun, of course. But also like in Pennsylvania, Ohio-ish area that's kind of around DC, like there are these beautiful cliffs I got to see. I could stop whenever I wanted if I just felt like I needed a break, because I'm really not comfortable on an airplane. I'm really tall. Ears are hurting, of course. Bathroom's difficult. Like I'm not. It's not. I hate it. Airports are kind of miserable because everyone looks miserable around you. But driving in a car, sun's out, on a highway, listen to my own music. I'm comfortable. Air feels nice. Driving along. I feel like I'm just in a better mood, and it's almost less exhausting.
Yeah.
Like now I'm more inspired to go on like more trips, like maybe drive down to one of the Carolinas for a NASCAR race or something.
And, you've proven to yourself that you can do that.
Yeah, but at the same time, again, I love my weekends. I get 2 days a week to rest for a 5-day work week, which I don't work regular hours during the summer at least, because my job, but which that just ended like this week. Yeah. And then I get to celebrate my work year ending with going traveling to the Indy 500, which is kind of cool, but it's also like, girl, I'm exhausted. Right. I'm doing nothing for the next 2 months. I'll see y'all later.
To finish up here on our race day, experience, we also did the IMS Museum. Very cool. That's probably the highlight of Penske's IndyCar ownership. Just that whole deal. Right. Like, it needed an upgrade. I went to it twice before this renovation. It's fantastic.
It's like kind of like that. It reminds me of that Disney exhibit we went to last year, the 100 year. I mean, it's so technological. There were screens, there were interactive stuff. Like the pit crew challenge, they had the iRacing little simulators, which was really fun. I liked seeing Alex on it. Was really cool. I got pictures of it, and I like seeing. It's weird because there's the usual stuff, but I'm not in deep with a lot of history about IndyCar, of course, because I grew up with NASCAR. So most of the IndyCar history that I do know, I've had to just kind of look up. I didn't get to experience it. But then there's we go to the NASCAR section with a bunch of Brickyard 400 cars, and I see Jimmy Johnson's 2006, I don't know if it was the exact winning car, but it was the body, and I see that beautiful metallic Lowe's blue and the highlighter yellow, and I'm just like, this is so cool. Yeah. Right? And then I took a picture of Bobby Labonte's car, because my sister, she wasn't a huge NASCAR fan back in the 90s or whatever when she was a kid, but Bobby Labonte was her favorite. So I was like, oh, here's Bobby Labonte's car. So cool. That was my favorite part of the museum, and I hate to say that because I'm like, oh, I'm a NASCAR fan here, but no, for real.
But he grew up on NASCAR.
I grew up on NASCAR. I can't help that.
IndyCar until much later, and we were talking Joseph's Indy 500 winning cars in there, and then 10, 20 years, that's going to be really cool for us because we were there for it.
And I stopped at was it the Penske Winners Hall? I stopped at Montoya's 2015 one. I'm I remember I was sitting on the porch with my dad. We put the TV out on the porch, and I've never seen my dad enjoy a race. Me and my dad enjoyed that race so much because it was so exciting. Yeah. And normally he never watched IndyCar, but he watched the Indy 500 every now and then, and it was a core memory, right? So it's not I still have some connections with IndyCar. I had more NASCAR, so I really resonated with the Brickyard part. And I also, again, I just love how they had that in the museum. Yeah. I thought it was really cool. It would have been really, really cool if they somehow had a sports car in there. If Porsche Penske, I don't think they didn't win.
If they win this year,
if they win
if
they win the 6-hour race, make some space for the prototype in that museum. That would be so cool.
You would look that thing up and down
It would be so cool to see that in person,
dude. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
We mentioned this earlier, but we had a lot of fun chatting with people. That was after the museum. After museum, we beelined it right for Pacoda Plaza, and we stayed there. Until we went to our seats.
We saw the crowd of Larson fans. That was the Jeff Gluck, Bob Procus tweet up.
We just stayed there, basically, and we had people messaging me. Yeah. I'm Zach's PR person. I posted, hey, if you want to meet Zach and I, we're just hanging out here. A lot of people were coming. If they couldn't find us, they were messaging me about it. A lot of fun. Thank you to anyone who stopped by and chatted with us.
It was also chill. And again, it's repeating something we did last year. We went to the tweet up last year. Last year, it was weird because, yes, we did a little off course because we didn't go to the museum last year, obviously. But then we went right back on course. After I had to hunt for this jersey because it wasn't in the normal.
He was so bummed out. I felt so bad.
I was trying to not be bummed out, but I really was.
We lined it for the merch first before the museum. Yeah. And sorry to Avery Hage. We met Avery Hage.
Oh my God.
Friend.
Avery, you caught me at a wrong time.
I am locked in because we found out on Twitter that the specific tent has it. This exact jersey. So I'm like locked in looking for it. And then all of a sudden I hear like a, hey, it's Avery. And we have really quick conversations. We're trying to do this and then that.
And there's like people walking around us.
We are in the middle of a swarm of people. And we're like, okay, good to meet you, bye. I wish we could talk more to Avery. But you got the jersey. It worked out.
Yeah.
Then we went to hang out with people.
Yeah, someone like, because I posted that, like, they don't have because they didn't, last year, the jersey, they had it online, like, at least a month before. This jersey didn't get put on the website till this week.
Yeah.
So I couldn't pre-order it. It was so annoying. Like, so I was trying to find it at the track, but now I have it, and it's actually really cool because I've warmed up to these colors.
Yeah. So. Quick notes here because we are at an hour. You're gonna get mad at me.
It's a special episode, Alex.
Once we got to our seats, we had a lot of fun. Kid in front of us was throwing bread at people below.
That's why I'm never having kids.
The parents weren't.
I have a lot of opinions on kids. I'm like Jordan. Jordan Bianchi said that before. He hates kids. I get it. I agree.
I get it.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's me.
And then at points, you react out loud to things that happened in the race.
Right.
And the same child.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but I was sitting at the Indy 500 with one of my best friends, right? So I'm like, oh, Alex, this is cool. This is what I think about it, right? And, like, for example, when McLaughlin crashed on the pace lap, and I'm, like, freaking out over here.
What happened?
This dumbass twerp, he's a twerp, turns around and is like, what happened? What happened?
Maybe if you weren't on your phone.
Maybe if you weren't on TikTok. And then I saw him a second later texting, making like an Instagram post, or like, how do you crash on the pace lap?
He was probably, what, 10, 11?
He was giving 9, 10 years old.
Anyway.
And there were other moments like when Larson crashed. Oh my God.
Larson crashed. And who was that? What happened? Same thing. And then you put on the Joseph jersey that I had on. We had brought my backup jersey in case you wanted to do that.
Right. It was my jersey, by the way, that I let Alex borrow because I thought I was going to wear it, but then I was like, I'm going to get this, so I don't need it.
Larson crashes during the yellow. I take off that jersey. You put that one on. I put on my PPG jersey. And this kid's like, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. So mad. And then they had the crash. It was the Larson crash still, right? Stingray Rob was in it?
Right, Stingray Rob was in it.
And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. And he's like, was it Newgarden? Did Newgarden? Because I have a Newgarden thing on. He's like, we're like, no. I'm not just
I'm here with Alex. I'm not here with this. Why am I babysitting? Why am I babysitting?
Oh, my God.
And then why is this kid taking pieces of his pretzel or whatever and throwing bread at other people in the crowd?
Yeah.
Where are the parents? I don't even know who his dad was because it was a group of like a bunch of adults. I don't know if they were actually there together or if they've just been sitting like in those seats forever. I don't know, but I was like so irritated because children suck.
One of those adults had a Palou shirt on.
He was very smart.
I congratulated him because last year when we sat there, they remembered us. That whole group remembered us because we were losing our mind over Joseph winning. Yeah. So, I gave him a fist bump, patted him on the back and everything when he was cheering for Palou and everything. That was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Last thing.
That was cool.
It was difficult to follow this race more than the previous 2 years because the ticker on the TV kept going away.
Like the lap count. I don't remember that happening last year. Like the lap count kept going away, and I'm like, girl, I would tell you when they got a pit, but I have no idea because I don't know what lap we're on.
Never happened. Ever happened. Weird, and it kept glitching out.
I kept pulling up the IndyCar app.
And then they kept only showing the top 10, and I'm trying to follow Joseph, who was like at the time like 15th. I'm like, did he actually make that pass like on the backstretch? Like, I don't know. They're just
you have to wait for him to come back around, which is fine.
Like, it's fine.
The thing is,
it's not ideal.
Like, I had to pull up the IndyCar app, and I don't remember who said this before. Something about a NASCAR race where it's just like, oh, it was. Remember when they got rid of the scoring pylons?
Oh yeah.
And then I think like some of the tracks or the NASCAR's response to that was, well, just use the NASCAR app. No, one, I don't. some people, you can barely get cell service, especially in NASCAR races. I had Verizon, so I had cell service at Indy, but you said it was kind of spotty for you.
Mine was spotty.
So I shouldn't have to pull up an app to follow a race that's right in front of me.
Yeah.
That's just the frustrating thing about it, and it's just like, part of it's where it's like, if we had headsets, I think a lot of more stuff would make sense as well, because announcers are calling it out to us. And when I go to NASCAR at Richmond, I need a headset. It's a strategy race. I got to have a headset.
Yeah.
Indy, though, you can kind of get away with it because it's pretty easy to hear the announcers.
Tell me, if you were at the race, let me know if you think this too. I felt like Alan Bestwick and Dave Calabro's mics were way quieter this year.
I was wondering that too, actually, because I remember being able to hear them like always.
Yeah, I feel like I could not hear them half the time.
Maybe we're wrong. I don't know.
Maybe we were around children. I don't know. Let's move into NASCAR, kind of, because now we're going to talk about Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
The double attempt falls short once again. He crashed on a restart in Indianapolis, and he self-spun during the Coca-Cola 600. Kyle Larson said the double is logistically impossible to properly do. He faced weather delays both times.
And that's why no one's done it before. Oh, wait a minute. No, people have done it before, so...
Patreon member Blake asks us, is it time for Kyle Larson to move on from the double? I think he already did. I'm a massive Larson fan, but what a letdown it's been as a whole between the weather obstacles, NASCAR's pettiness, and overall results. He had 2 DNFs, a DNS, and do not start, and an 18th place finish at Indy last year.
Damn.
So...
I think he moved on as soon as he hopped in that helicopter.
Yeah, he ain't doing this.
He was like, well, that was cute.
Kyle Larson, and we talked about this before the race. Like, I think on Friday we were talking about this.
Yes.
The vibes were just off.
Can I talk about that?
And I want to say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Larson was just in the wrong mindset this time around. I think last year was in a better mindset. He really wanted to do it, and he was locked in on Indy. This time, NASCAR really nudged himself into this and said, you need to focus on us. And I think that kind of killed the spirit of the double for Kyle specifically.
Yeah.
He just was not in a good headspace, and then we had delays again, and he was on a tight window. He himself said that even if he didn't crash, he probably would have had to leave. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was a point on the pace laps, McLaughlin crashed, as we talked about earlier, and Larson called him an effing idiot, and he gave him a sarcastic thumbs up as he drove by. I think that is in poor taste. But I think he wasn't... I'm not defending him, by the way. I do think this was just in poor taste. He was in a bad mood.
He was in a bad mood.
The double was already dead in his mind.
I think, the double... And I didn't think about that at or when I first found out about this. I wasn't even thinking about that at first, but I don't know if I want to really... I'm not here to defend it.
But
can I... The thing about the vibes for the double this year, I don't even know if I necessarily agree with it being NASCAR's the priority. I think it's more that the magic of Indy, well, not the magic of Indy, but there were expectations for Larson and himself going into this year because he was very successful last year. He qualified 6th or 5th, like fast 6. He was running up in the top 10 until he had his pit issue.
Yeah.
He had expectations and he had a bit of an ego with him this year. As well, this was a 2-year deal. I think what kind of made the vibes weird for me is the fact that he's coming back to Indy and there's still a lot of things that he said he wanted to learn, like being more aggressive with the controls on the car, right? Part of me, though, was just like, it almost felt like, what is the point since you're not coming back next year?
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it felt weird to me to talk about Kyle Larson at the Indy 500 in a way where it's just like, he's here just to complete all the laps. Because that's not Kyle Larson.
And at the point, he stalled in the pits, and he was just logging laps. He was... I don't think
he was
cared.
Literally chilling at the back.
And then, eventually, when he did crash in the 500... I do think he was like, okay, let me actually try making a pass or whatever. Like, it was on a restart, crazy restarts, and he crashes. Really disappointing. I'm disappointed in Kyle Larson because he was not in the right headspace for this. And I do in part blame NASCAR for that. I do think that they kind of
I think that's fair
put him
enough.
in that kind of space where it's like, well, I need to focus on NASCAR, and then it rains again.
Yeah.
Like, he's in a difficult position. I feel really bad for him, but at the same time, he just, I don't know. It wasn't there. I hope he does the Indy 500 again someday. But
I think him complaining about the double being too logistically hard is
a cop-out.
It's kind of fair because, again, NASCAR was like, you better make the 600 or this is going to happen. These are the consequences.
Here's the thing. NASCAR was even like, hey, you can miss driver intros. You can miss the driver's meeting. NASCAR was still being kind of flexible with him. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
So that actually pushed back when he had to get there by what? Like, a lot.
Him saying it's too logistically hard. When we've seen Tony Stewart complete the most successful double with a third and a sixth place finish in those two races.
Kurt Busch did it.
Kurt Busch did a pretty, I mean, he had a top 10 finish in the Indy 500. Like, he had a pretty good successful attempt. For Larson to do 2 attempts that are not successful, mostly because of weather. I think weather was related twice because I think he mentally just kind of got thrown off yesterday. I don't know. I think I really do understand his frustration, but I just think it's almost disrespectful for him to say that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Tony Stewart didn't. I mean, he had perfect weather, I guess, but he didn't have this problem. So what are we? And the McLaughlin thing with the thumbs up, it's just, dude, you
did not like that.
You aren't even. What's that saying? Yeah, I don't. It's a bad word, so I don't really want to say it. But it's just like, you are not that guy. Mm-hmm. You are. This is your second Indy 500, and all you have to show for it is a pit road speeding penalty, a 17th place finish, or 18th place finish, and a wreck. That's all you have to show for it.
I would love for him to have an opportunity, perfect weather, but he can't control the weather. Imagine if he had a perfect weather. I think this time, he would have been in a better headspace and actually would have had a decent run. And then when he gets to the 600, we can transition to the Coca-Cola 600 now.
Yeah.
I think maybe he would have had a better race there because he spun from the lead at a point.
Right.
And it looks like, oh, wow, maybe he might actually do good in 600, turn things around, turn his day around. But he spins, and then I think that just killed anything. Because he was, I don't know if his car had damage. The TV didn't.
I think the underbody had damage.
Must have something.
It must have something was, or again, mentally he was just checked out. I don't know.
But from then, he was just the last car on the lead lap rest of the day.
He was battling with, like, was it a Rick Ware car or something?
Something, but then eventually he got taken out fully in the Daniel Suarez crash and Ryan Blaney crash, and Chase Briscoe's in the middle. But he gets taken out there, and that just ended his day. So he crashes in both, doesn't complete either race.
You know what else frustrates me? I forgot to bring this up. It's like he prides himself in running all of these like races and cars, and he kept himself so busy during the month of May. It's just like, you pride yourself in it, but why do it? And then complain about it.
Right.
Like, I guess we did already mention that. I just wanted to make sure we got it solidified. But that wreck with Suarez and stuff, that was like the most comedically horrifying wreck ever.
So we were exhausted in our hotel bed.
Oh my god.
And we're just watching it, and we're like, uh-oh. We saw it happening, and then Suarez is crashing, collects Haley. We're like, oh. And then they collect Larson, and we started laughing.
Well, like, because Suarez wasn't holding his brakes, because why would you, I guess? And then he's like, because I wasn't expecting him to slide down even further, and then I realize he is. Then I see the 5 car coming along.
Like, of course Kyle Larson crashes again. Of course.
He wrecked. He wrecked 3 times in the same day. 2 different races, 2 different cars. I love that.
I hope Kyle Larson had the best sleep of his life, because he's like, that was a day to forget for him.
Roll.
Wow.
Just take him out back at this point. Let's put him out of his misery.
Let's talk about the rest of this race. Ross Chastain passed William Byron late to win the Coca-Cola 600. And, Zach, that's something the 600 should be about. We had comers and goers. This was a race where William Byron dominated. He led 283 of the 400 laps. This is an endurance race. And you have to be, just like the Indy 500, you have to have a perfect race here. And
especially with the way the next gen car is, because it's not impossible, but it's still very hard to pass at Charlotte.
And William Byron just wasn't able to hold off Chastain at the end.
He made a mistake, and
he bobbled that one.
It's kind of connecting to the 500. There was a lap car in front of him, Joey Logano, of course, which I was like, of course, Joey, the attention's not on him tonight. He wants the attention to be on him. It was. Byron, with NASCAR, it's a little bit different than Indy, of course. You can't just chill behind the lap cars, but Byron kind of looked to the bottom a little bit to get to try to make a run on Logano, but he couldn't. It wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And then Ross got a run on him, and then Ross made the pass. And Byron, who was very racy last night. Remember when Hamlin would take the lead from Byron, and then Byron would take good racing. Honestly, that's the best we're gonna get with this car. It was really good. And then he would go take it back from Hamlin. Hamlin was having a lot of handling issues in clean air, just too loose. You want it loose, but not that loose. But yet, Ross Chastain passes him, 8 to go, and now Byron has nothing for him.
Yep.
When he's been the dominant car all night. That's what NASCAR and oval racing and I guess endurance racing, they're all kind of meshing together in this one event. That's what it's all about. It's so cool for a guy to dominate all night long in clearly the best car, and some guy comes along who we really weren't talking about him much all night. It was really more on Hamlin and Hocevar before he had his problem.
Yep.
Chastain rolls up in typical Chastain fashion. He's won a few of his races like this.
Yeah.
Just rolls up, wins it, steals it almost. But he didn't steal it. He deserved it. And that was a really compelling race, a really cool race. And it's what the Coke 600 should be about. That's what it is. It's not over until the 600th mile.
Yep.
Not because of overtime.
Yep.
So that was awesome. I'm glad we got to see it play out. William Byron, and I've criticized him on here before, it's like he's fast, but he doesn't know how to race people. He did impress me last night.
He was actually taking the lead back from Hamlin.
With Hamlin, right? Good. But he couldn't get by Ross, which, hey, Ross is hard to pass. He's really good at aero blocking.
Denny Hamlin, what took him out of this race, he didn't have a second tank of fuel properly go in. It wasn't going in at all, and he had to pit an extra time. That cost him his position.
Sucks. I love the storyline of, they were trying to get that car to handle perfect for him in clean air because he just couldn't.
Yeah.
He couldn't keep it in front of Byron.
Because once he got the lead, he was running worse. Like, the car just drove worse.
He started, he couldn't pull. He never pulled away from Byron. It was so weird.
That was really helping Byron be able to get back by him.
That was such interesting racing to me.
Really good. And the third driver of that big battle throughout the race was Carson Hocevar. It was a career night for him until his engine let out.
I thought this was going to be like one of those, there's been a few drivers that got their first one in the 600. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be Hocevar last night.
Patreon member Dirt says, what a devastating night for Carson Hocevar. He ran up front for 450 miles, the race of his life, and as soon as he gets a chance to command the race, his engine blew up. What was our reaction to that moment, and how do Hocevar and the 77 rebound from this disappointment?
I don't think the disappointment's going to keep them from, because it's kind of like the thing with Joseph from earlier. It's like, oh, your car failed. It is what it is.
They need to keep doing what they're doing.
They have the speed, race winning speed. Carson's doing what he needs to be doing.
It's fire. Like, this is kind of crazy.
It is, right? That's the really cool thing about it. And is he going to win this season?
I wouldn't have said that preseason. But I'm
not sitting here saying
it's possible.
I'm not sitting here saying he will, because it's NASCAR. You never know, but he's looking really good. The best part about last night, Alex?
The TV coverage was awesome.
Oh, that might have been, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, the best broadcast for NASCAR ever in my life. Yes.
Wow.
And part of that's the commercial, the way the commercials were.
The last 40 laps were ad-free. They put like a banner on the screen saying like the ad-free starting at 40 to go or whatever. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
Which it better be, because we're paying for this. And also with the racing itself being compelling definitely helps. But I'm just talking about the broadcast itself, right? And this doesn't even go to, like, I saw someone on Twitter saying like it looks better than Fox because they're actually outputting it in full HD, not just 720, because it doesn't have to go to the TV networks or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That broadcast was just, it felt so Right. And I think because I don't really have a lot of notes.
See, that's good. You don't want us to talk about, like, I have no notes about the booth. Booth is awesome.
The booth is so perfect.
Trevor Bayne, pretty good in the pits.
Trevor Bayne.
Marty Snyder is one of the best pit reporters of all time.
I think, yes.
He's
a big part
at telling stories. And normally he does the Indy 500. This is his first Coke 600 because Fox has had it. Really good. I felt like whenever Marty was telling a story, I'm like, I just learned so much.
I think the pit reporters are a big reason. And I don't know if this is true, but I feel like the pit reporters are doing so much for that race and presenting all the storylines that are going on.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like, that's, I mean, again, getting to the bottom of why Denny is not being able to keep the lead, right? Marty or whoever got to the bottom of bottom of it.
And by the way, I forget exactly what issue it was, but there was a point where Steve Letarte just completely analyzed the situation.
The fuel injection thing with Hamlin. Yep.
He explained it. They pulled up their graphics. It felt like this was... I wonder if NBC, or like the NBC people produced this. It was like the similar kind of graphics that NBC would have. And just Steve Letarte perfectly explained it. I feel like I understood everything that was happening. His dynamic with Junior and Adam Alexander is top notch.
Perfect.
We are so lucky. We have Steve Letarte rest of the season. I think he's still the best analyst in all of NASCAR.
He's so good.
He is so great at how he explains things. And we have him from May to November. Wow, we are so lucky.
They're talking about the racing. They're covering, and our friend Jackson on our Kansas episode was saying, Fox doesn't have an excuse. There are plenty of storylines going on throughout the field.
They were talking about Tim Cindric getting fired. We didn't even mention that earlier. Tim Cindric got fired from Team Penske over the attenuator stuff. And they talked about it in the race. Like, a storyline. Hey, Austin Cindric's dad's fired. Is that going to impact it? We talked to him about it. And then the booth talked about it. Like, that's just a storyline. And it puts it in people's minds like, oh, his performance really is going to matter this season.
Right.
Just the little details. And
when Byron had a 9-second lead, were we watching Byron? No, we were watching battles.
They just have a camera following Byron. They weren't just talking about Byron over and over. They were finding stuff to talk about. They had Jeff Gordon in the booth, who, by the way, better than I remember in the booth.
Oh, yeah, y'all were too hard on him. Jeff booth was better than what we have now on Fox. I'm just saying.
They had a guest in the booth, and they were still talking about the race.
Fox doesn't do that. They have a guest, and then they will they have a podcast during the race, basically, right?
I wouldn't say this is like that Nashville race a few years ago that NBC did, levels where it's just like, oh my god. Maybe it's because I was so tired.
Yeah.
It was really good broadcast. Like,
I mean, it was...
Wow.
I hate to say perfect, but I have no complaints. You could fix things with the graphics, the fonts.
Some graphics
weird. I don't know if it's a bad font. It's just I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
Some things with the manufacturer badges under the numbers, but that's just little nitpicky things.
Yeah.
That I am excited to watch NASCAR for the next 4 weeks on Prime and then 5 weeks on TNT, because I don't know how similar TNT is going to be, but I guess it might be a little bit different.
Yeah, they had different pit reporters and stuff. Marty Snyder's still there.
Yeah, but they still have a lot of the same personnel, so you...
What are you moving this closer?
I don't know, Alex. I told you if I move it to me that you just need to move it back, and that's how it's going to work.
And that's what I've been doing all
That's how it's going to work. We like to grab things here at the Gay Racing Podcast, so...
A couple other notes about Prime. Olivia on Twitter said the Prime broadcast was top tier. I wish Fox would have this passion. They are not going to. And Finley on Patreon said the 600 actually felt like a big race after 25 years of it being exclusive on Fox.
And
it did feel like a big race.
Prime still had, they had some montages of drivers saying what military member that was on their car and stuff, which that's fine. It's just sometimes I felt like Fox was going way, way too hard about it. I think Prime was very respectful about it.
Yeah.
Like they still had it. They still mentioned it. And of course the race, they still had the moment of silence at halfway. I have my own opinions on that, whatever.
Yeah.
But Prime, they were so locked in on that race. Like, I have no complaints about it. I can't even quantify it. What Olivia says about I wish Fox would have that much passion too, because it literally seems like Mike, Kevin, and Clint just do not care about NASCAR.
And
sometimes.
We watched the highlights for the Indy 500. I feel like they did okay. Like, the booth was good.
The booth was great.
For the Fox's Indy 500.
Yes.
But Fox Sports as a whole, I feel, just doesn't...
I don't know if they really understand racing in terms of, like, what...
It's weird.
What race fans want to see.
Yeah. And
I think they're almost trying to make a race broadcast for the casual fan. But this is a 3-hour motor race. Like, come on.
You can't just do slapstick for several hours. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of our comments. I opened up a Twitter and Blue Sky because I posted it right when I was prepping the episode this week.
Yeah.
And it's usually for Patreon members only, but open it up this week. Patreon.com/GayRacingPod if you want to be part of it for a future episode.
Yeah.
But fantasy. Let's wrap up this episode. NASCAR's at Nashville. IndyCar's at Detroit. Zach, you had Blaney for the 600 who finished 38th. I had Elliott who finished 6th. Point update. I have 14 points, and you have 9 in NASCAR. Yeah. You get to pick first. NASCAR at Nashville.
I got to catch up. I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin. He's just been really good there lately. He almost won there. Well, yeah, he should have won last year. Cindric didn't, spin. His average finish is good. He's had a lot of good finishes there. He's fast there. Qualifies good there. Like, Nashville seems like to be a driver's track because it is like a little bit more difficult than those high banked mile and a halves.
Yeah.
I think Denny Hamlin has it absolutely figured out. So, and he was quick. He's been quick this season. So, yeah.
Right.
Denny Hamlin.
That was going to be my pick.
Oh, good.
But my backup pick is actually Kyle Larson because everyone's saying, like, laughing at him, pointing, laughing, like, It's
the Kyle Larson cycle. Yeah.
We're back on the cycle. Everyone's saying, like, he calls himself the greatest driver in the world. Well, he's going to come back next week and dominate.
He's going to lead every single lap next week. Every single lap next week. Oh, my God. You're right. It's the Kyle Larson cycle.
Yep.
God.
I think that's what we're gonna see.
You have the game down. You I think you're in sync with Larson because you have been picking. You've picked him twice this season.
I have.
With wins, I think, or maybe Kansas and whatever.
I forget another one, but yeah. IndyCar at Detroit.
Well, who are you picking?
For the Indy 500, Zach had Sato and I had McLaughlin, who did not make a lap in this race.
Yeah. So who are you going to pick? I'm dying to know.
Who am I going to pick?
I'm dying to know. Please tell me.
I thought really hard about this, you guys.
You had a lot of choices.
I thought about...
There's a lot of drivers in the field.
I thought about Kyle Kirkwood because he's the only guy, not named a certain other guy, who has won.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And he's good on street courses.
Okay.
I thought about him. I also thought about Joseph Newgarden, but that's a little silly.
No, the hell you didn't. No, you lost me there. When you said Kyle Kirkwood, I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Joseph Newgarden, you did not think about Joseph Newgarden. Well, you did think about Joseph Newgarden, but not in that way.
Yeah, that was a joke. I'm picking Alex Palou.
What? Why? I didn't expect that.
If anyone is going to win the week after the Indy 500, after winning it, after doing the media tour, it's Alex Palou. Come on.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Kyle Kirkwood. That was really easy for me because I'm like, well, if you pick Palou, I pick Kirkwood. And if you pick Kirkwood for some dumb reason, I'm going to pick Palou. So hopefully Alex Palou is going to be very, very tired this week.
Yeah, hoping he's sleepy.
I'm hoping he gets very sleepy when he rolls up to Detroit. I don't know. We'll see what kind of race that's going to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not my favorite
It's going to be
track.
chaotic boredom. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, to wrap things up here, thank you for sticking around. It's been an hour and a half with your favorite gay racing
Special
bands.
episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a little conversation earlier this week, and this is going to be our kind comment with John on Instagram. He listens to the pod. The podcast really helped me realize I can be 100% myself and love cars and racing. Thank you for what you do. It means a ton, and the community is only growing in the sport because of that visibility.
That's good. It's good to have that reminder because we don't talk about Pride every week. Well, we will starting next month.
Pride Month is right up around the corner.
That's really funny for me to say. Yeah, we don't talk about Pride that much.
Yeah,
Pride Month is next month. It's very important to be mindful of that and we'll have more to talk about later in terms of what. Yeah. I don't know. We're also kind of waiting to see what happens with NASCAR and IndyCar. Some little things. This year compared to previous years, but yeah, thank you so much for that, John. That's a really good reminder for us.
Yeah, it was really nice to read that. Thank you again to our Patreon subs. Patreon.com/GayRacingPod if you'd like to support us and join in the conversations we have throughout the episode. And you can rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you'd like. Consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. Follow us on social media at Gay Racing Pod on Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram, and Twitter. And you can follow us at New Gaiden. I'm on Blue Sky. Sometimes I'll post a hot take on Twitter just to see if I can make people mad. Yeah. And then Zack is at Dreamy Zack Racing on Blue Sky and Twitter.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this very special episode of the Gay Racing Podcast. We had a great time here in Indy. We travel back home tomorrow. And I'm very excited for next weekend to be back. I'm excited to be back at home watching a race, not going to lie, but I had a really good time at the 500. Thank you, Alex, for taking this journey with me.
Of course.
It's very fun. We'll see you guys next week to talk about NASCAR at Nashville and IndyCar at Detroit. Bye-bye. Bye.